The coffee was still hot when my world ended. I remember that detail because I just poured it, 2 sugars, no cream, the way I'd been drinking it for 40 years, and set it on the table beside my phone. Saturday morning. The house was quiet in that peaceful way that comes after decades of the same routine. Light filtered through the kitchen blinds, casting stripes across the worn linoleum I kept meaning to replace, but never did. My wife used to say this kitchen had character. After she passed, I just called home. I was scrolling through Facebook, something I did maybe once a week, mostly to see photos of old coworkers' grandkids or someone's fishing trip. I wasn't looking for anything in particular, wasn't expecting anything, and then I saw it. The photo loaded slowly. My internet's never been fast, but when it filled the screen, my hand froze. Maya, my daughter, my baby girl, in a white dress, a wedding dress, standing beside Derek. Her boyfriend, no, her husband now, apparently, both of them grinning like they'd won the lottery. The caption read, "Congratulations to the beautiful bride. Yesterday was absolutely perfect." 2 hearts. Yesterday. I read it again. Yesterday. The wedding was yesterday. My coffee sat there getting cold while I stared at that screen, waiting for my brain to catch up with what my eyes were seeing. This had to be a mistake. A joke. Maybe they'd done some kind of practice run, a rehearsal they dressed up for. But the more I scrolled, the more photos appeared. Maya cutting a 3-tier cake. Derek's parents raising champagne glasses. Bridesmaids in navy blue dresses. A reception hall decorated with white roses and string lights. 40, maybe 50 people, all dressed in their Sunday best, all celebrating my daughter's wedding. The wedding I'd heard nothing about. I pressed my palm against the table to steady myself. My chest felt tight, like someone had reached in and squeezed. I kept scrolling, kept searching for some explanation, some caption that would say, "Surprise photos from last year," or "Throwback to our engagement party." Nothing, just comment after comment. "Beautiful ceremony. So happy for you both. Best day ever." My phone felt heavy in my hand. I pulled up my call log, my text messages, my emails. Nothing from Maya. Nothing from Derek. The last message from her was from 2 weeks ago. "Love you, Dad. Talk soon, Red Heart." I'd sent her money 3 days before that. $8,500. The deposit for the wedding venue. The venue I was looking at right now in these photos. She called me crying, said they didn't have enough for the down payment, said it was her dream location, said she'd pay me back, said I'd walk her down the aisle. I stood up without meaning to, the chair scraping loud against the floor. My hands were shaking. 62 years old, and my hands were shaking like a kid's. I'd worked double shifts at the electrical plant for 20 years to give her everything. After her mama died, God rest her soul, I became both parents. I packed school lunches and attended parent-teacher conferences and stayed up nights helping with homework. I barely understood myself. I paid for her college. All 4 years. $47,000. I paid her rent when she graduated and couldn't find work right away. $18,000 over 2 years. I bought her a car when hers broke down. $5,000 for the down payment. I kept a ledger. Not because I didn't trust her, never that, but because I was proud. Proud that I could provide. Proud that my baby girl would never know the kind of struggle I knew growing up. The ledger sat in my desk drawer. Every expense written in careful handwriting. Every sacrifice documented like a love letter to her future. And she got married without me. I scrolled back to that first photo. Looked at her face. She looked happy. Radiant. Like this was the best day of her life. The best day of her life. And I wasn't in it. My thumb hovered over her contact. I needed to hear her voice. Needed her to explain. Needed this to make sense somehow. Some way. Because the alternative, that she deliberately excluded me, was unthinkable. The phone rang once. Twice. 3 times. Voicemail. Hey, it's Maya. Leave a message and I'll call you back. That cheerful voice. That voice I'd heard say, I love you, Daddy, 1,000 times. Baby girl, I said, and my voice cracked. I cleared my throat, tried again. I saw the pictures. I need to understand. Please call me back. I ended the call and stood there in my kitchen, surrounded by 40 years of memories. Photos on the fridge. Her kindergarten artwork, still framed on the wall. The height marks on the doorframe where I'd measure her every birthday. On the mantel, in a silver frame, was a photo from her high school graduation. Cap and gown, diploma in hand, her arms wrapped around my neck. She was looking at me in that picture, looking at me like I hung the moon. I picked up the frame with both hands, stared at that smile, and wondered when exactly I'd stopped being her father and started being just a checkbook. I didn't sleep that night. Couldn't. Every time I closed my eyes, I saw that wedding photo. Every time I started to drift, my mind replayed the voicemail I'd left, the way my voice broke on Baby Girl. By 3 a.m., I gave up, got out of bed, and went to my office. The desk lamp cast a yellow circle on the worn-wood surface. I pulled open the bottom drawer, the one that always stuck a little, and took out the ledger. It was just a simple composition notebook, black and white marble cover, the kind kids use for school. I'd started it when Maya went to college, thinking I'd give it to her one day as a graduation present. Look at all we accomplished together. I'd planned to say, look at what love built. I opened it to the first page. My handwriting looked younger somehow, more hopeful. August 2006, tuition, fall semester, $5,875. I turned the pages slowly. Each entry was dated, categorized, explained. January 2007, textbooks, $340 March 2007, emergency dental work, $1,200 May 2008, summer study abroad deposit, $2,500. For years of college expenses, all carefully tracked. The total at the bottom of page 12 made my throat tight. $47,000. Give or take. But I kept turning pages. June 2010. First month's rent. New apartment. $950 July 2010. Furniture from Goodwill and Target. $425 August 2010 groceries. She couldn't find work, yet $180. Month after month, year after year. Rent when she was finding herself. The car down payment when her old Honda finally died. The laptop for her new job. Her wisdom teeth removal. The security deposit when she moved in with Derek. I pulled out a calculator and started adding. My fingers moved automatically, punching numbers while my mind wandered. I remembered Derek's first visit to this house. 3 years ago, maybe 4. He'd shown up in a BMW, wearing a polo shirt with a little logo on the chest. Shook my hand with a grip that was just a touch too firm. Looked around my living room with eyes that cataloged and judged. When I offered him a beer, he asked if I had any craft IPAs. I gave him a Budweiser. He drank it with a polite smile that never reached his eyes. Your father has a lovely home, he'd said to Maya, in a tone that meant the exact opposite. But Maya had been glowing, holding his hand, and I'd pushed down the unease in my gut. She was happy. That's what mattered. The calculator displayed the final sum. $83,470. $83,470. I sat back in my chair and stared at that number. That was more than my first house cost. That was more than I'd made in 2 years when I was her age. That was early mornings and late nights and weekends I gave up. That was my retirement fund. Thinner than it should be. That was a vacation I never took, the truck I never bought, the easy years I never had. And she couldn't invite me to her wedding. My phone sat on the desk, dark and silent. No return call. No text. Nothing. I picked it up, opened my messages, scrolled back through our conversation history, looking for clues I'd missed, signs that this was coming. 3 months ago, Maya. Dad, we set a date. October 19th. Me? That's wonderful, baby girl. I'm so proud of you. Maya, I can't wait for you to walk me down the aisle, Redheart. 2 months ago, Maya. The venue needs a deposit. It's steep, but it's perfect. Can you help? Me, how much? Maya, $8,500. I know it's a lot. Derek's parents are covering the rest. I'll pay you back, I promise. Me, don't worry about paying me back. This is your day. 2 weeks ago, Maya. Love you, Dad. Talk soon, Redheart. Me. Love you too, sweetheart. And then nothing. No updates. No invitation. No explanation. I closed my eyes and saw her as a little girl, 8 years old, standing on my shoes while I taught her to dance at her school's father-daughter event. She'd worn a pink dress with ribbons, and she looked up at me like I was the most important man in the world. When I get married, she'd said that night, you have to dance with me just like this. Deal? I promised. My chest felt hollow, like something vital had been carved out, and I was just now noticing the empty space. A text message lit up my phone. My heart jumped. Finally, Maya. Finally, an explanation. But it wasn't Maya. It was Derek. We need to talk. Can we come by tomorrow? Not, I'm sorry. Not, let me explain. Not, Maya wants to call you. Just a demand, dressed up like a request. I stared at those words for a long time. My thumb hovered over the keyboard. 100 responses formed and dissolved in my mind. Finally, I typed, "What time?" His reply came instantly. 2 p.m. I set the phone down, looked at the ledger, still open to that final sum. $83,470. The math was simple, but the equation it represented, what I'd given versus what I'd received, that math didn't add up at all. I closed the ledger and put it back in the drawer. Tomorrow, I'd get my answers. Tonight, I'd sit with the questions that were tearing me apart. They showed up at 2:04 p.m. I'd been ready since noon. Cleaned the kitchen, even though it was already clean. Made a fresh pot of coffee nobody would drink. Changed my shirt twice before settling on the blue button-down Maya gave me last Father's Day. I caught myself straightening the photos on the mantel and forced my hands still. I wasn't nervous. I was something else. Something colder. The doorbell rang. Through the window, I could see Derek's BMW parked in my driveway, gleaming silver against the cracked concrete. I took a breath, let it out slowly, and opened the door. Maya stood there in jeans and a cardigan, her hair pulled back in a ponytail. No makeup. She looked young, tired. She wouldn't meet my eyes. Derek stood beside her in khakis and a sweater, hands in his pockets. Chin up, he met my eyes just fine. "Hey, Mr. Johnson," he said, like we were old friends running into each other at the grocery store. I stepped aside. "Come in." They filed past me into the living room. Maya's perfume, the same lavender scent she'd worn since high school, lingered in her wake. Derek sat on the couch without being invited, spreading his arms across the back like he owned the place. Maya perched on the edge of the armchair, hands folded in her lap. I stayed standing. The silence stretched. I let it, watched them squirm in it. Finally, Derek cleared his throat. "So I'm sure you saw the photos." "I did. Look, I know it might seem sudden, but we wanted something intimate. Just close family and friends. You know how these things can get out of hand with big weddings." I nodded slowly, counted to 5 in my head. I saw 47 people in those photos. I counted. His smile flickered. "Right. Well, intimate is relative. Was I invited?" The question hung in the air like smoke. Maya flinched. Derek's jaw tightened. "Dad," Maya started. "Was I invited?" I repeated, looking at her now. She opened her mouth, closed it. Her eyes were wet. It wasn't personal. Those 3 words, like a slap. It wasn't personal. I said quietly, tasting the words. My daughter got married and didn't tell me, but it wasn't personal. We just wanted something low-key, Derek interjected. No pressure, no expectations. You know how traditional weddings can be. All that walking down the aisle stuff, it's so antiquated. I looked at him, really looked at him, saw the expensive watch on his wrist, the designer label on his sweater. Remember the $8,500 I'd wired for a venue I'd never set foot in. Derek's parents covered most of it. Maya said quickly, reading my thoughts. Your deposit was just, it helped with the initial booking. That's good, I said. I'd hate to think I paid for a wedding I wasn't invited to. Maya's face crumpled. Dad, please. Why didn't you tell me? I asked, and I heard my voice crack despite my best efforts. Not invite me, fine. I can accept that. Somehow. But why didn't you even tell me it was happening? Why did I have to find out on Facebook, like some stranger? She looked at her hands. It all happened so fast. We didn't want to burden you. Burden me? The word came out harsh. Baby girl, do you know what would have been a burden? Knowing you were getting married and not being able to be there. That would have been a burden. What you did was just cruel. Now, wait a minute. Derek started, but I held up a hand. I'm not talking to you. I'm talking to my daughter. Maya was crying now, silent tears tracking down her cheeks. But she still wouldn't look at me, wouldn't explain, wouldn't give me the truth. Derek shifted forward. All business now. Look, Mr. Johnson, we actually came here because we need to talk to you about something important. Of course they did. Our landlord, Derek continued, is being completely unreasonable. He's evicting us over some bogus noise complaints. We got until Friday to come up with $6,000, or we're out on the street. There it was, the real reason for the visit. We've been looking everywhere for help, Maya added, her voice small. Derek's parents already helped so much with the wedding. We can't ask them. But you can ask me. I finished. You've always been there for us, she said, and the way she said us, including Derek in that equation, made something twist in my gut. I knew I could count on you. Count on me, like I was a savings account, a backup plan, a safety net that would always be there to catch them when they fell. I walked to the mantel, picked up the photo from Maya's 8th grade father-daughter dance. She was standing on my shoes, her pink dress a blur of ribbons and lace, looking up at me with absolute trust. Do you remember this night? I asked. Maya looked at the photo. Fresh tears spilled. Dad, you told me that when you got married, we danced just like this. Do you remember? Please don't. I've been practicing, I said, my voice barely above a whisper. Sounds stupid, I know. A 62-year-old man practicing his steps in his living room. But I wanted to make sure I didn't step on your dress. Wanted to make sure it was perfect for you. Mr. Johnson, about the money. Derek tried again. I set the photo down carefully, turned to face them both. I need time to think. Maya's face went pale. What? I need time, I repeated, to think about things. But we need an answer by Friday, Derek said, an edge creeping into his voice. This isn't something we can just... Then you better start looking for other options, I said evenly. The silence was different now. Shocked, Maya stood up, wringing her hands. Dad, you don't mean that. You're upset, I understand, but... I do mean it. I need time to think. About a lot of things. Derek stood too, his face hard. This is ridiculous. We're family. Are we? I asked, looking at Maya. Because family gets invited to weddings. Family gets phone calls. Family gets the truth. Maya was sobbing now, open and desperate. I'm sorry, okay? I'm sorry, but we really need help. Dad, please. You've never let me down before. Never let her down. That's what she said. Like that was my job. My only job. To give and give and give and never expect anything in return. Not love. Not respect. Not even basic human decency. just to be there, to be useful, to be a checkbook with a heartbeat. I'll call you, I said, and walked to the door. Opened it. Derek muttered something under his breath. I caught the word ungrateful and strode out, his expensive shoes loud on my concrete steps. Maya lingered at the threshold. Dad, I do love you. You know that, right? I looked at her. My baby girl. My only child. The person I'd built my entire life around. Then show me, I said quietly. She left without another word. I closed the door, locked it. The deadbolt sliding home sounded final, like an ending. And maybe it was... I didn't call Maya that night, or the next day, or the day after that. Instead, I did something I'd never done before. I investigated. It started with Aunt Clara, my wife's sister, the only family I had left besides Maya. She lived 3 hours south in Richmond, and we talked maybe once a month, usually around holidays. But she and Maya had always been close, godmother and goddaughter, the kind of bond that transcended distance. I called her Monday evening. Richard? Her voice was warm, surprised. This is unexpected. Everything okay? Were you invited to Maya's wedding? The pause that followed told me everything I needed to know. Oh, honey, she said softly. You didn't know? My fingers tightened around the phone. So you were there? Yes. Richard, I assumed. I thought you chose not to come. I thought maybe you and Maya had some kind of disagreement, or you were sick, or... Oh, God, you really didn't know? I found out on Facebook, 3 days after it happened. Jesus. She breathed the word like a prayer. Richard, I'm so sorry. If I'd known. What happened, Clara? Just tell me what happened. I heard her moving, a door closing, the creak of a chair. Then she sighed. It wasn't small, she said. It wasn't intimate. It was lavish. Beautiful, honestly, but big. There must have been 70, 80 people there. 80, not 47 like I'd counted in the photos. 80. Derek's parents paid for most of it, Clara continued. His mother made that very clear. She kept talking about their investment in the young couple's future. The venue was gorgeous, some country club in McLean, the kind of place with a waiting list. The venue I put down a deposit on, $8,500 to get Maya's name on that waiting list. Was it always supposed to be that big? I asked. Another pause. Longer this time. Clara. Okay, but you're not going to like it. I already don't like it. Just tell me. About 2 months before the wedding, things changed. Derek's parents got more involved. His mother started planning everything, taking Maya to dress appointments, choosing the menu, and she had opinions about the guest list. My stomach dropped. What kind of opinions? She wanted it to be polished. That's the word she kept using. She wanted the wedding to reflect a certain image, a certain kind of family. And I didn't fit that image. Richard, did she say that? Did Derek's mother say I wasn't welcome? Not in those words. But she made it clear that Derek's business partners and clients would be there, and that first impressions mattered, and that the wedding needed to show. Class, I said flatly. She wanted class. Clara was quiet. I thought about Derek's mother in those photos, her pearls and her perfect hair, raising a champagne glass. Remember that Facebook comment. Finally, a family that appreciates class. And Maya went along with it. I said. She was overwhelmed. Derek's mother is not an easy woman to say no to. And Derek was backing her up on everything. And Maya she just went along with it. I tried to talk to her. Richard, I swear I did. I asked her if you were okay with all the changes. And she said you understood, that you wanted her to have her dream wedding. She lied. Yes. I stood up, started pacing my kitchen. The linoleum was cool under my bare feet. Did anyone ask about me? At the wedding? A few people. Maya told him you weren't feeling well, that you'd sent your blessings but couldn't make it. Rage flared in my chest, hot and sudden. She told people I was sick. I'm sorry, honey. I pressed my free hand against the counter, steadying myself. What about when you realized the truth? When did you know I hadn't been invited? Last week. I called to see how you were feeling after missing the wedding, when you had no idea what I was talking about. Richard, I told her she needed to fix this. I told her she'd broken something that might not be fixable. What did she say? She cried, said she knew, said she'd made a terrible mistake and didn't know how to fix it. But then she stopped answering my calls. Clara's voice went hard. She asked me for money yesterday. $5,000. Said it was an emergency. I told her the only emergency I saw was her treating her father like garbage. She hung up on me. We haven't spoken since. 5,000, or was it 6,000 she'd asked me for? I couldn't remember. The numbers all blurred together. Thank you for telling me the truth, I said. What are you going to do? I don't know yet. After I hung up with Clara, I opened Facebook again. This time I didn't look at Maya's photos. I looked at Derek's mother's page. It was public. Everything was public. Photos of the wedding, dozens of them, each meticulously tagged and captioned. The country club exterior. The ballroom with its crystal chandeliers. The centerpieces that must have cost hundreds of dollars each. And the comments. So many comments. Such an elegant affair. The Johnson-Perry Union is exactly what this community needs. Derek's parents have done such a wonderful job raising him. The Johnson-Perry Union, like it was a business merger. I clicked through photo after photo. Found one of Derek's father giving a speech. Derek's mother dabbed her eyes with a napkin. Found one of Maya laughing with Derek's cousins, looking more relaxed than I'd seen her in years. Found one of Derek and Maya cutting the cake, and in the background, just barely visible, a woman in a navy dress turning away from the camera. It was Clara, and even in the blurred background, I could see the sadness on her face. I closed my laptop, sat in the dark of my living room, surrounded by photos of a daughter who'd chosen strangers over a father, who'd chosen appearances over love, who'd chosen everything I'd never been, polished, refined, upper class, over everything I was. My phone buzzed. A text from Maya. Dad, please, we really need your help. I made a mistake. Okay? I'm sorry, but we're desperate. I read it 3 times. I'm sorry, but we're desperate. The sorry was just a toll to pay. The desperation was what mattered. I typed, I'll call you back. But I didn't. I sat there in the dark, holding my phone, and felt something shift inside me. Something that had been bending for years finally snapped. I wasn't angry anymore. I was done. Tuesday morning, I called Mr. Henderson, Clarence Henderson, estate attorney. His office was in a small brick building downtown, the kind of place that smelled like old books and furniture polish. I'd used him 15 years ago to draw up my will after my wife passed. Simple document. Everything to Maya. My house, my pension, my savings. She was my whole world. Made sense she'd get my whole estate. His secretary put me through immediately. Richard Johnson. Mr. Henderson said warmly, "It's been a while. How can I help you?" "I need to revise my will." "Of course. Let me pull your file. Can you give me a general idea of what you'd like to change?" I looked at the ledger on my desk, at the wedding photos still open on my laptop screen. Everything, I said. His office had the same worn leather chairs I remembered, the same watercolor landscape on the wall. Mr. Henderson was older, more gray hair, deeper lines around his eyes, but his handshake was firm and his gaze was steady. "Talk to me," he said, setting a yellow legal pad on his desk. So I did. I told him everything. The college tuition and the rent and the car and the wedding deposit, the Facebook discovery, the visit, the lies Clara had revealed, the desperation masked as apology. He listened without interrupting. occasionally making notes. When I finished, he set down his pen and leaned back in his chair. "I'm sorry," he said simply. "As an attorney and as a father myself. Can I write her out completely? Legally? Yes. You can disinherit a child in Virginia. But Richard, let me ask, is that really what you want?" I've been asking myself the same question for 3 days. I don't know. Part of me wants her to understand what it feels like to be erased. But part of me, I stopped, swallowed hard. Part of me still loves her, still wants to believe she can change. Mr. Henderson nodded. "Then let's talk about options that protect you while leaving the door open for her, if and when she's ready to walk through it." We spent 2 hours going over possibilities. He explained trusts and conditions and contingencies. He showed me how to protect my assets while still providing for Maya, but only if she met certain requirements. You could require family counseling, he suggested, or establish milestones, regular contact, demonstrated respect, a track record of independent financial stability. What about her husband? We can specify that any inheritance to Maya is her separate property, not community property. Derek would have no legal claim to it. That felt important. Critical, even. In the end, we drafted a new will. The house would stay in my name until my death, at which point it would go to a trust. Maya could inherit from the trust only if she completed 6 months of documented family therapy and maintained regular contact with me, defined as at least 1 call or visit per month. My pension would be split, half to the trust for Maya, under the same conditions, half to a scholarship fund in my wife's name. The scholarship would go to trade school students from single-parent homes. Kids like I'd been. My savings and investments, what little there was, would go entirely to the scholarship fund. If Maya contests this, Mr. Henderson said, she can. Anyone can contest a will, but this document clearly establishes your reasoning and your intentions. It would be very hard to overturn. Good. "There's one more thing," he said, pulling out a clean sheet of letterhead. "I'd recommend writing her a letter. Not emotional, factual. Lay out your boundaries. Give her the opportunity to understand why you're making these changes." So I wrote it, right there in his office, in longhand, while Mr. Henderson made copies of the new will. "Dear Maya, I'm writing this because I need you to understand some things, and I don't trust myself to say them without breaking down. For 28 years, I've been your father. I thought that meant providing for you, protecting you, giving you opportunities one never had. I worked double shifts so you could have new school clothes. I skipped vacations so you could go to college. I emptied my savings so you could have your dream wedding. I don't regret any of that. I'd do it again tomorrow. But somewhere along the way, you started seeing me differently, not as your father, as a bank, not as family, as a fallback option, not as someone who deserved love and respect, as someone who'd always be there no matter how badly you treated him. I cannot be that person anymore. Enclosed are copies of every payment I've made on your behalf over the past 15 years. I'm not asking you to pay me back. That's not what this is about. I'm showing you because you need to see the pattern. You need to understand what I sacrificed and how little you valued it. I'm also enclosing a copy of my updated will. When I die, you may inherit from me, but only if you can prove you see me as your father again, not just a resource. That means counseling. That means regular contact. That means treating me with the basic respect you'd give a stranger. If you can't do that, then my estate will go to kids who remind me of myself at their age, working hard, dreaming big, and needing just one person to believe in them. This isn't punishment. This is protection. I'm protecting myself from being used again. I'm protecting my legacy from people who only value me when they need something. I love you. I probably always will. But love without respect is just a wound that never heals. If you want a relationship with me, you know how to find me. But it starts with an apology, a real one, not just words designed to get what you want. And it continues with actions that prove you mean it. The door is open, but I'm not standing in the doorway waiting anymore. Dad, I signed it, stared at my signature for a long moment. My hand didn't shake this time. Mr. Henderson put everything in an envelope. The letter, copies of the ledger, a summary of annual terms. We sent it certified mail. Return receipt requested. She'd have to sign for it. She'd have to acknowledge receiving it. How do you feel? Mr. Henderson asked as we stood to leave. Lighter, I said, and I meant it. That evening, my phone rang. Maya's name lit up the screen. I let it go to voicemail. She didn't leave a message. They received the letter on Thursday. I know because the tracking said delivered, signed for by M. Perry at 11:47 a.m. Maya Perry. She'd taken Derek's name. They showed up at my door at 3:15 p.m. No phone call warning me they were coming. No text asking if I was home. They just appeared, and this time Derek didn't bother with politeness. He pounded on the door like he was trying to break it down. Open up, he shouted. We need to talk to you. I took my time, finished the sandwich I was eating, wiped my hands on a napkin, checked my reflection in the hallway mirror. Then I opened the door. Derek's face was red, his jaw clenched. Maya stood behind him, her eyes swollen from crying, that envelope clutched in her hands like evidence at a crime scene. What the hell is this? Derek demanded, pushing past me into my living room. Derek. Maya started, but he cut her off. No, this is insane. Absolutely insane. He spun to face me. You're going to hold your daughter's inheritance hostage because you're upset about a wedding? That's petty, man. That's beyond petty. I closed the door calmly. That's my decision to make. Your decision? He laughed, sharp and bitter. You're punishing Maya for one mistake, for one event, after everything she's done for you, everything she's done for me. I repeated slowly, please enlighten me. She's been there for you, calling you, visiting you, making sure you're not lonely after her mother died. She called me when she needed money. I said quietly, that's what she did for me. Derek's mouth opened and closed. Maya made a small sound, half sob, half denial. That's not fair, she whispered. Isn't it? I looked at her directly. When's the last time you called just to talk? Just to see how I was? Not to ask for rent money or tuition or a wedding deposit or an eviction payment. She stared at me, tears streaming down her face. I'll wait, I said. Dad, that's not... I do care about you. Then why wasn't I at your wedding? The question hung there, heavy and unavoidable. Derek jumped in again. Because it was our day. Our choice. We wanted something intimate. 80 people, I interrupted. Clara told me. 80 people at a country club in McLean. That's not intimate. Derek, that's a spectacle. That's a statement. So what? His voice rose. So we wanted a nice wedding. Sue us. I paid for that wedding. $8,500 for the deposit. My money helped book that venue. And we're grateful. Are you? I stepped closer to him. Not threatening, just closing distance. Because gratitude usually includes an invitation. Gratitude usually includes honesty. Gratitude doesn't exclude someone and then show up desperate when the money runs out. Derek's face went hard. You're really going to do this? You're really going to cut off your own daughter because your feelings got hurt? My feelings got hurt? I said the words carefully, tasting each one. My daughter erased me from the most important day of her life. She lied to her family about why I wasn't there. She took my money knowing full well I'd never step foot in that venue. And then she showed up at my door pretending nothing happened, asking for more. That's not hurt feelings, Derek. That's betrayal. Oh, come on. And you know what the worst part is? I looked at Maya now. You still haven't apologized. Not really. You said, I'm sorry, but... That's not an apology. That's an excuse. I am sorry, Maya said, her voice breaking. I am, Dad. I made a mistake. No. I shook my head. A mistake is forgetting to call on my birthday. A mistake is being late to dinner. What you did was a choice. You chose Derek's mother's approval over your own father. You chose appearances over family. You chose everything. I'm not over everything I am. That's not true. Then explain it to me. Make it make sense. She opened her mouth, closed it, opened it again. Derek's mother. She had very specific ideas about the wedding, about how things should look. And Derek thought, don't put this on me. Derek snapped. You agreed. Because you said your parents would cut us off if we didn't do it their way. Maya shouted, rounding on him. You said they'd stop helping us with the apartment and the car payments and everything else. Silence. I watched Derek's face change, watched the mask slip. That's different, he said finally. Is it? I asked, so you can use money to control people. But I can't use my own money to set boundaries? That's not what You manipulated my daughter into excluding me from her wedding so you could keep your parents' money flowing. And now you're mad because I'm not playing the same game. I looked at Maya. Is that what happened? She was crying harder now, her whole body shaking. I didn't know what to do. He said if we didn't do what his parents wanted, they'd stop helping us. And we needed the help, Dad. We couldn't afford the apartment without them, and Derek's student loans are crushing us. And I just went along with it. You could have told me. You could have asked for my help standing up to them. I was ashamed, she whispered. I was ashamed that I was choosing money over you. And then it was too late, and I didn't know how to fix it. And I just hoped you'd understand. Understand? The word came out harsher than I meant it. Baby girl. I would have understood if you'd talked to me. I would have helped you figure out another way. But you didn't give me that chance. You just erased me. Derek stepped between us. Okay, this is all very touching, but can we focus on the actual problem here? We need help. Now, this whole thing, he gestured at the envelope, is cruel. You're basically telling Maya she's not your daughter anymore unless she jumps through your hoops. No, I said, I'm telling Maya she's always my daughter, but she needs to prove she wants to be my daughter in more than name only. Therapy, regular contact, basic respect. Those aren't hoops. Those are the bare minimum of a relationship. You can't force someone into therapy. I'm not forcing anything. I'm saying if she wants my estate, those are the terms. If she doesn't want my estate, she's free to walk away. Her choice. Just like it was her choice to exclude me from her wedding. You're manipulating her. I'm protecting myself, I said, and my voice went cold. Because I'm done being the safety net for people who only see me when they're falling. Derek's face twisted. You're going to regret this. You're going to be old and alone someday, and you're going to wish you'd help your family when they needed you. I smiled. It felt sad and strange on my face. I've been alone since October 19th. I just didn't know it yet. That's not, Maya started, but Derek grabbed her arm. Come on, we're done here. He's made his choice. Wait. Maya pulled away from him, turned to me. Dad, please. I do love you. I know I messed up. I know I hurt you, but I do love you. I looked at her, my baby girl, my only child, the person I'd spent 28 years loving with everything I had. Then show me, I said quietly, not with words, with actions, with time, with respect. Show me I'm your father, not just your backup plan. How? Her voice was desperate, raw. How do I show you? The letter explains it. Therapy. 6 months of regular contact. Proving you can be in my life when you don't need something from me. I paused, and it starts with a real apology. Not, I'm sorry, but just, I'm sorry. I was wrong, and I'm going to do better. She stood there, tears dripping off her chin, the envelope crumpled in her hands. Are we still in the will or not? Derek demanded. That's all we need to know. And there it was. The only question that mattered to him. Read the letter. I said, it explains everything. Derek grabbed Maya's hand, pulling her toward the door. This is bullshit. We'll contest it. We'll sue. You can try, I said evenly. But Mr. Henderson is very good at his job, and that will hold up. So you can spend your time and money fighting me in court, or you can spend it proving you actually want a relationship with me. Your choice. Maya stopped at the threshold. Turn back one more time. Are you really going to do this? Are you really going to make me beg for my own father's love? I never made you beg for love, I said, my voice cracked. I gave it freely, constantly, for your entire life. What I'm asking for is respect. That shouldn't require begging. Derek pulled her out the door. I heard their footsteps on the concrete, heard the car doors slam, heard the BMW's engine roar to life. I closed the door, locked it. The deadbolt sliding home sounded final. My phone was in my pocket. I pulled it out, looked at the screen, waiting for the angry text to start. They didn't come. Instead, silence. And in that silence, I felt something I hadn't felt in weeks. Peace. Not happiness. Not relief. Just peace. The peace that comes from finally standing up for yourself, even when it costs you everything you thought you couldn't live without. I walked to the kitchen, made myself a cup of coffee. 2 sugars, no cream. The house was quiet, but it wasn't lonely. Not anymore. 6 weeks passed without a word. No calls. No texts. No tearful voicemails begging forgiveness or angry rants threatening lawyers. Just silence, deep and complete, like Maya had simply stopped existing in my world, or I'd stopped existing in hers. I waited for it to break me, waited for the loneliness to crush me, for the regret to eat away at my resolve, waited for that moment in the middle of the night when I'd crack and call her, tell her I didn't mean it, tell her she could have everything with no conditions. That moment never came. Instead, something else happened. Something I didn't expect. I started living again. It began small. I joined a woodworking class at the community center on Tuesday evenings. Something I'd always wanted to do but never had time for. Too busy working extra shifts. Too busy helping Maya with whatever she needed. The instructor was a retired carpenter named Bill, who wore sawdust in his beard like a badge of honor and spoke about with grain the way some people speak about scripture. You got to listen to the wood, he told us that first night, running his palm over a plank of oak. It'll tell you where it wants to go. I made a birdhouse. Simple thing, basic cuts, nothing fancy. But when I glued the last piece in place and stepped back to look at it, I felt something I hadn't felt in months. Pride. Not pride in someone else's accomplishment. Not pride in how much I'd sacrificed or provided. Pride in something I'd made with my own 2 hands. For no other reason than because I wanted to. I took it home and put it in my backyard. Watched sparrows investigate it the next morning. Marcus called me that Friday. Marcus Williams, an old friend from my union days. We'd worked together for 15 years before he retired to Florida, and we'd kept in touch through Christmas cards and occasional phone call. He was in town visiting his daughter. "Got time for a beer?" he asked. I met him at Mickey's Tavern, the same place we used to go after shift to complain about supervisors and celebrate raises. Marcus looked good, tan, relaxed, grinning like he'd just won the lottery. "Florida looks good on you," I said, shaking his hand. "Retirement looks good on me," he corrected. "You should try it." We ordered beers, talked about old coworkers, dead and alive, talked about fishing and weather and all the safe, easy topics men our age default to. Then Marcus said, "Alicia told me about Maya." Alicia, Marcus's daughter. She was Facebook friends with Maya. Must have seen the wedding photos. Must have told her father what happened. Did she? I said neutrally. "Yeah." Marcus took a long pull of his beer. "Told me she got married and you weren't there. That true?" "True." "You sick? Couldn't make it?" "Wasn't invited." Marcus set his beer down slowly. "Say that again." So I told him. Not all of it. Didn't need to unload everything, but enough. The surprise, the exclusion, the desperate visit afterward. Marcus listened, his face getting darker with each sentence. "That's cold," he said finally. "That's ice cold, brother." "Yeah. What did you do?" "Change my will. Set boundaries. Told her she wanted a relationship with me. She needs to prove it's not just about money." Marcus was quiet for a long moment. Then he raised his glass. "Good for you." I blinked. "What?" "Good. For you." He clinked his glass against mine. Too many of us spend our whole lives letting our kids walk all over us. Telling ourselves it's love, it's sacrifice, it's what parents do. Meanwhile, they're bleeding us dry and calling it family. He leaned back, shaking his head. My son-in-law tried that mess with Alicia. Wanted her to ask me for money every time he made a bad investment. I shut that down real quick. Told him I didn't raise my daughter to be a middleman for his failures. How'd that go? He divorced her 2 years later. Best thing that ever happened to her. Marcus grinned. She's a nurse now. Makes her own money. Calls me just to talk. Came to visit me last month. Stayed a whole week. We went deep-sea fishing. Ate too much seafood. Laughed till we cried. That's family, Richard. Not whatever power game your daughter's playing. Something in my chest loosened. I keep wondering if I'm being too hard on her. You're not. Marcus's voice went firm. You're being a man who knows his worth. And that's something she needs to learn. Maybe this is the best lesson you ever taught her. That love doesn't mean letting people destroy you. We stayed until closing time, talking and laughing like we used to. When I got home, I felt lighter than I had in months. The next day, Marcus invited me to a blues concert downtown. I almost said no. I had groceries to buy, bills to organize, that endless list of small tasks I've been using to fill my time. But then I thought, why not? The venue was a small club with exposed brick walls and a stage barely big enough for the band. The air smelled like bourbon and cigarette smoke from decades past. The music was raw and real, the kind that gets into your bones and reminds you that being alive means feeling things, even painful things. I sat at the bar nursing a whiskey, letting the music wash over me, and realized I hadn't felt this present in years. Not distracted by worry about Maya, not calculating how much I'd need to save for her next crisis, not planning my life around being available for hers. Just present. On Monday, I had an appointment with Mr. Henderson to finalize some paperwork. While I was there, I made another decision. I want to set up that scholarship fund now, I said. Not wait until I'm gone. I want to see it happen. He smiled. How much were you thinking? $20,000 to start. From my savings. More later if I can manage it. That's generous, Richard. It's necessary, I corrected. I spent my whole life giving to one person who didn't appreciate it. Time to give to people who will. We named it the Sarah Johnson Memorial Scholarship after my wife. It would go to trade school students from single-parent homes. Electricians, plumbers, carpenters. Kids learning to work with their hands just like I had. The first recipient was a 19-year-old named Deshawn, studying to be a welder. I met him at the scholarship ceremony the community college hosted. He shook my hand with a grip that reminded me of my own at that age. Strong, nervous, grateful. Thank you, sir, he said. This means I can quit my night shift and focus on school. This means I can actually do this. You were always going to do this. I told him. This just makes it a little easier. Driving home from that ceremony, I cried. Not sad tears. Something else. Relief, maybe, or purpose. The feeling that my money, my sacrifice, my life's work was finally going to someone who would honor it. Aunt Clara called that night. Maya reached out to me, she said without preamble. My heart jumped to spite myself. And asked if I thought you'd really go through with it. The will, the conditions, all of it. I told her yes. Then she asked if I thought she should just give up, accept that you don't want her in your life anymore. What did you say? I said that's the dumbest thing I've ever heard. I said you set boundaries because you love her, not because you don't. I said if she actually did the work, the therapy, the regular calls, the showing up, she'd probably get her father back. But it requires her to see you as a person, not just a wallet. How'd she take that? She cried. Said it was too hard, that she didn't know how to fix something this broken. Clara paused. Then she asked me for money again. My stomach dropped. Clara, I said no. Told her I'm done enabling her too. Told her Derek needs to get a second job, and she needs to figure out her own life. She hung up on me. I'm sorry. Don't be. I should have said no years ago. We all should have. Her voice softened. How are you doing? Really? I looked around my kitchen. At the birdhouse plan spread on the table. At the photo from the scholarship ceremony on my fridge. Me and Deshawn, both grinning. At the quiet, peaceful space I'd built for myself. I'm good, I said, and meant it. After we hung up, I made dinner. Just spaghetti, nothing fancy. Ate it at the table, instead of in front of the TV. Washed the dishes by hand, taking my time. My phone sat silent on the counter. No missed calls. No desperate texts. No Maya. And for the first time, that silence didn't feel like abandonment. It felt like freedom. Spring came slowly that year. I watched it arrive from my back porch. Coffee in hand. Sparrows nesting in the birdhouse I'd built. The one I'd made in that first woodworking class, back when I was still raw from Maya's betrayal. Still learning how to be a person instead of just a father. 6 months had passed since I changed my will. 6 months of silence, except for one voicemail in March. Maya's voice, slurred and crying, saying something about being sorry and how life was hard. I'd listened to it once, then deleted it. Not out of cruelty, but out of self-preservation. Words without actions were just noise. I'd built 7 more birdhouses since that first one, donated 3 to the community garden, gave 2 to the church with their fundraiser, kept 2 for myself. Bill, my woodworking instructor, said I had a natural talent for it, said I should consider selling them at the farmer's market. I was thinking about it. Marcus had visited twice more, and I'd driven down to Florida once to see his place. We went deep-sea fishing like he'd done with Alicia. I caught a grouper that fought so hard I thought my arms would fall off. And when I finally reeled it in, Marcus took a photo of me holding it up, grinning like an idiot. That photo was on my fridge now, next to the one from the scholarship ceremony. My kitchen was turning into a gallery of my new life. A life that didn't revolve around Maya. A life that was mine. Deshawn had invited me to his welding showcase at the community college. I watched him create art out of metal, turning raw steel into something beautiful. Afterward, he introduced me to his mother, a tired woman who worked 2 jobs and still found time to be proud of her son. Thank you, she said, gripping my hand. That scholarship, you don't know what it means to us. I think I do, I said. The scholarship fund had grown. I'd added another $10,000. Mr. Henderson had helped me set up a donation page, and some of the guys from my old union had chipped in. We'd be able to fund 3 students next year. Maybe 4. Sarah would have loved that. She'd always said the best legacy was helping people build their own. It was a Saturday in early May when Maya showed up. I was in the backyard, sanding a piece of cedar for my next project, when I heard the gate creak. Looked up and there she was, standing at the edge of my garden like a ghost who'd lost her way. She looked different, thinner. Her hair was pulled back in a simple ponytail, no makeup, wearing jeans and a plain t-shirt. No designer clothes, no expensive accessories. She looked smaller, somehow, more real. We stared at each other for a long moment. I set down the sandpaper, but didn't stand up. "Hi, Dad," she said finally. Her voice was quiet, uncertain. "Maya." She shifted her weight from foot to foot. Can I sit?" I gestured to the other lawn chair. She sat carefully, perched on the edge like she might need a run. Silence stretched between us. I let it. I'd learned the value of silence these past months. It made people show you who they really were. I'm not here to ask for money, she said. Okay. I'm not here to make excuses either. Okay. She twisted her hands in her lap. Derek and I separated 3 months ago. He's back with his parents in McLean. I'm in a studio apartment in Falls Church, working 2 jobs, receptionist during the day, waitressing at night. I nodded but said nothing. It's hard, she continued. Really hard. I can barely make rent. I eat ramen most nights. My car broke down last week, and I can't afford to fix it. So I'm taking the bus everywhere. She looked up at me, and her eyes were different, clearer. But I'm doing it. I'm doing it on my own. Good. Aunt Clara told me you started a scholarship fund in Mom's name. I did. That's beautiful, Dad. Mom would have loved that. My throat tightened. Yeah, she would have. Maya was quiet for a moment, watching the sparrows flit in and out of the birdhouse. You made that. First one I ever built. It's perfect. We sat in silence again. Not uncomfortable this time. Just present. Finally, Maya took a deep breath. I didn't come here to tell you about my life. I came to tell you I'm sorry. I waited. Not sorry, but, she said, meeting my eyes. Not sorry I had to, or sorry it was complicated. Just sorry. I was wrong. I hurt you in a way that can't be undone, and I'm sorry. The words hung in the air between us, simple and true. You were right about everything, she continued, her voice shaking. About Derek, about his family, about me being too weak to stand up for you. His mother did say you wouldn't fit the image she wanted. Derek did pressure me to go along with it, and I did choose their money over my own father. Why are you telling me this now? Because I lost everything anyway. The marriage fell apart. Derek's parents cut us off the minute we separated. Turned out their investment in our future was really just control. I hit rock bottom, and when I was there at my lowest, I realized the only person who ever loved me without conditions was you. And I'd thrown that away for people who never loved me at all. Tears were streaming down her face now, but she didn't wipe them away. I don't expect you to forgive me, she said. I don't expect anything. I just needed you to know that I understand now. I understand what I did, what I lost, and how much you deserve better. And I'm sorry. I'm so sorry. I looked at her, really looked at her, and saw my baby girl again. Not the entitled woman who'd excluded me from her wedding. Not the desperate person who'd shown up begging for money. Just Maya. Broken, humbled, real. I believe you, I said quietly. She let out a sob. Really? Yeah, I do. Does that mean... It means I believe you're sorry. It doesn't mean everything's fixed. I leaned forward, resting my elbows on my knees. You broke something, Maya. Something that's going to take time to heal. Understanding that it's broken is the first step, but it's just the first step. She nodded, wiping her eyes. Aunt Clara told me about the conditions. The therapy, the regular contact. I want to do that, if you're still willing. Are you doing it for the inheritance or for me? She thought about that, really thought about it. Honestly, 6 months ago, it would have been for the inheritance. But now I just want my dad back. I want to be someone you're proud of again, even if that takes years. Even if I never see a penny. I studied her face, looking for the lie, the manipulation, the angle. Saw only exhaustion and sincerity. Then we can try, I said, slowly, with boundaries. What kind of boundaries? You call me once a week. We talk for at least 15 minutes. Not about money, not about your problems, just talk. About life, about the weather, about nothing important. We rebuild a habit of being in each other's lives. Okay, you go to therapy. Work through why you made the choices you made. I don't need to know what you talk about in there, but you need to do the work. I already started. 3 weeks ago. It's hard. But I'm going. That surprised me. Good. Is there more? Yeah. I stood up, walked to my workbench, picked up the birdhouse I'd been sanding, brought it back, and held it out to her. You take this. Put it up somewhere you'll see it every day. And when you do, I want you to remember that family isn't about what you can take from people. It's about what you choose to nurture. She took the birdhouse with both hands, cradling it like something precious. I will. I promise. Don't promise. Just do it. She nodded, fresh tears falling. Can I hug you? I hesitated. Not because I didn't want to, because I was afraid that if I let her in, even a little, I'd forget why I'd built these walls in the first place. But then I remembered what Sarah used to say. Love with boundaries is still love. Sometimes it's the strongest kind. Yeah, I said, you can hug me. She stood, set the birdhouse carefully on her chair, and wrapped her arms around me. She was smaller than I remembered, or maybe I was just seeing her clearly for the first time in years. I love you, Dad, she whispered. I love you too, baby girl. We stood there for a long moment, two people who'd broken each other trying to figure out how to heal. When she pulled back, she picked up the birdhouse again. I should go. Let you get back to your project. Okay. She started toward the gate, then paused. Will you answer if I call next week? If you call to talk, yeah. If you call asking for money, no. I'll call to talk. Then I'll answer. I watched her walk to the street. No BMW now, no expensive car, just her on foot heading to the bus stop. She turned back once, gave a small wave. I waved back. Then she was gone, and I was alone in my backyard again. But it felt different this time. Not empty, not lonely, just peaceful. I picked up my sandpaper and went back to work on the cedar. The afternoon sun was warm on my shoulders, and somewhere nearby, a bird was singing. My phone buzzed in my pocket. A text from Deshawn. Got the job at the fabrication shop. Starting Monday. Thank you for everything, Mr. Johnson. I smiled, typed back. Proud of you, son. You earned this. Set the phone aside and kept sanding, feeling the grain of the wood beneath my fingers, listening to it tell me where I want to go. The sun was setting by the time I finished. I held up the piece of cedar, examined it from all angles. It would make a good birdhouse. Maybe the best one yet. I'd give it to Maya when she called next week. If she called next week. And if she didn't, well, I'd give it to someone else. Someone who'd appreciate it. Someone who'd understand what it represented. Because I'd learned something these past 6 months. Something vital and true. Love doesn't mean sacrificing yourself until there's nothing left. Love means knowing your worth and sharing it with people who see it too. I'd spent 28 years being Maya's father. I'd always be her father. But I was done being her backup plan. I was a man who built things with his own 2 hands. A man who helped kids chase their dreams. A man with friends and hobbies and a life that mattered. A man who knew that sometimes the greatest act of love is refusing to enable harm. The legacy I was building now, the scholarship fund, the birdhouses, the quiet strength I'd found in my own company, that legacy would outlast me, would touch lives I'd never meet, would honor Sarah's memory in ways that mattered, and maybe, just maybe, it would teach Maya something more valuable than any amount of money ever could. That the people who love you shouldn't have to beg for your respect. That family is built through actions, not words. That some doors stay open, but only for those willing to walk through them with humility and grace. I cleaned my tools as the last light faded, put everything away carefully, methodically, locked the shed and headed inside. The house was quiet, but it wasn't empty. It was mine, and that was enough.